This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social. Delighted to be joined here in LA by Ben Davison in the immediate aftermath of the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury press conference. First things first, how are you, Ben?
I'm okay. I've had to come back to my room because it terrified the life out of me and I'm not coming out of here until the fight.
Quite the occasion today, the press conference. Looked pretty dangerous up there.
Do you know what I said to the Showtime guy, and I said to him last time in LA, that you're always going to get that because you've got two alpha males that would probably end up in the same situation if they was trying to tie up their loose shoelaces in a race. They don't want to give an inch, don't want to lose an inch. Both very charismatic, and you're always going to get that, especially at this stage of preparation.
In your role as a trainer, when you see something like that happen, I mean, I know it's different for different people. Certainly, Tyson has made a big thing about kind of the mental warfare side of the sport. When you see something like that happen, do you kind of think, oh, rein it back in, or you don't want to see that, like, because obviously expending emotional energy before the fight, or do you just kind of look at Tyson and think he knows what he's doing?
It started off before that, to be honest. Deontay said a few things in the press conference where I thought, you're not as mentally strong as I thought you was. Tyson's elite level mentally, and I always knew he was elite level, but even this week he shocked me. And I thought Deontay was elite level, but from what I've took from today's press conference is he sort of, I don't know whether it's him, his team, or all together collectively, but he's saying that Tyson doesn't believe he can win. Tyson doesn't believe he can knock him out, and I think it sunk in today that obviously Tyson does believe that. Tyson's supremely confident, and the difference is Deontay is trying to build his own confidence off of something that's not true and something that's not there, as opposed to Tyson's very realistic about the situation. He knows Deontay's a formidable opponent, a tough challenger, but he's still being realistic with the fight. He's supremely confident and supremely relaxed, and I believe that's the difference. Tyson's elite mentally, and Deontay showed some weakness today, I feel.
I mean, much has been made of kind of Tyson Fury's mental warfare. Do you feel, was that something that was kind of expected on your behalf, the kind of poking and prodding and potentially trying to get a one-up on Deontay Wilder in the build-up to it, or is it something that's kind of happened organically?
Not really. We knew from the beginning because in the first couple of press conferences, the first few days, we tested a little something. So on Good Morning, Tyson was very respectful and very calm, and Deontay was very respectful and very calm. Then the press conference came about, and Tyson was animated, which made Deontay animated. And we sort of played up and down, and Deontay played to Tyson's tune. That's what we learned, and we knew then that we was in charge here, and that's how the fight will go. Tyson will dictate how the fight goes, the tempo that the fight's fought at, and Deontay will be following.
Talk to me about preparation for this. Well documented the fact that you spent the first part of the camp in Big Bear, California. Just tell me about that period of time that you spent in Big Bear.
Big Bear was good. A lot of legends have been up in Big Bear. Fantastic place to train. Abel Sanchez was very, very kind. Hosted us very well. Fantastic sparring up there with Sam Jones and Joe Joyce.
Sounds
and
a bit small.
Joe Joyce and Guido Vianello. And we went up there, but going up there, it was something that Tyson wanted to do as well. So going up there, we started doing a bit of work, and as time went on, I was discussing with experts in that field, and with the data and the information that come back to me, it turned out that about a 4-week period would be the best period to spend up in at altitude, which I always knew it would be. I estimated about 6 weeks, but with what come back, 4 weeks was best, and people saying, oh, Tyson couldn't handle it in Big Bear and this, that and the other. The honest truth is I had to have an argument with him to bring him back down because he didn't want to come back down. But it was the right decision to make, and once we got down here he was all fine. But I didn't have trouble getting him down here, so he wanted to stay up there. But we got a lot of benefits from Big Bear, and we got a lot of benefits from coming back down to sea level.
Now, obviously, we've mentioned the altitude, which was a big part of Big Bear. Also, one of the big parts of legends going there, plus is kind of like the solitude aspect of it. There's not anything to do apart from eat, train, sleep. Did that affect Tyson either positively or negatively in any way?
Do you know what? And being honest, I did say before this fight got made, I openly said that ideally I would like Tyson to have a couple more fights. For his physical and mental, emotional, he was growing, he was in a good place and things were getting better. But he surprised me. I've never seen him so happy. I've never seen him in such a good place, all around the board. Like I say, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And he did shock me. And like you say there, the solitude in Big Bear, I thought would be a bit of a tough area. But he was very disciplined. Was happy with it. Loved it in Big Bear. Loved the solitude. Liked the environment. And it's worked out well. And now what I've learnt about Tyson is he really does, like, we always said, he raises to the occasion. And I've seen that in the training camp. You know, with the other fights, it was a bit like, you know, because he knew he could probably get in there without training and beat those two. But obviously with this test, I've seen Tyson thriving off of the test, and it seems to be where he's at his happiest.
Conversely, what's the difference of training at the Wildcard? I mean, Wildcard is known as one of the sort of the busiest hustle and bustle gyms around. Obviously, there's always great sparring there to watch, not necessarily just take part in. How important has it been to get that kind of duality between the solitude of Big Bear and the kind of hustle and bustle nature of the Wildcard?
Yeah, it was good, but to be honest, Freddie and his assistant Marie, they gave us our slot in the downstairs gym for some privacy. LA is a funny place, especially Hollywood. But again, we would go to the gym, we'd come back, eat, sleep, train, repeat. In the middle of the day, sometimes we'd go and get a coffee. That'd be about it. Not much more, not much less. And that's how it's got to be. That's how training camps have got to be.
Tell me about working with Freddie Roach. Now, I've just sat down with Freddie Roach for, unfortunately, only about half an hour. I could have been there for a lot longer, but he was very hard pressed for time. Hopefully I'll catch him again soon. Working with Freddie Roach, I said to him that once upon a time, Freddie Roach was kind of the young trainer. He was working under Eddie Futch, and now you're the young trainer, and he's not quite as old as Eddie Futch was. But how has it been to have somebody of his kind of stature and his experience working with you while you're at this stage of your career?
Good, but it's good at any stage of a career, because what we learned the first time we met Freddie, which was on the day of the LA presser, we went to the gym to meet Freddie and have a look at the gym, etc. And also have a chat that I knew we'd have to come down from Big Bear about using the gym, etc. What I learned there was that Freddie's a genuine guy, a really nice guy, as is Marie, and they're just good people, nice people, genuine people, and they're the sort of people you want around you in life in general. Obviously, it's a fantastic bonus and a massive addition to our team that he's got the wealth of experience, and he's a legend in the game. He's good for me. We can bounce ideas off each other. He might say something to me that I might think, yeah, I might add that in, or he might say something I might think, no, I'd rather keep it as it is, or we can, like I say, bounce ideas off of each other. And what better second could you get in boxing than Freddie Roach? It's as simple as that.
Now, Freddie Roach is somebody who's kind of made his name as an attacking, offensive coach. Tyson has kind of made his name as a fighter, as a sort of defensive slickster, somebody with great movement. How has adding somebody like Freddie Roach, who has that kind of attacking mindset, into the camp benefited Tyson as a fighter?
Yeah, Freddie's got, Freddie come up with some ideas that might just make a few tweaks. Like we say, I'm the coach, so obviously I'm in charge. So it's mine and Tyson's styles gel. With Freddie, he might bring one or two things or tweak a little something and might say to me, Ben, what do you think about this? I quite like when he does this. And I might say, yeah, I like that, Freddie. And we'll work with it. But more so, Freddie's there that we can bounce ideas off each other. I might say, I saw this today, Freddie, and I didn't quite like that. What do you think? And he might say, no, I like this, or I like that. Or he might pick something up from the sparring and say, I've noticed this, I think it might be good to use that a little bit more. And little things like that, which is good, like I say, bouncing ideas off each other. You can't go wrong.
Now, when Freddie was added to the team, I think it's fair to say a few eyebrows were raised. And it's something that you've encountered an awful lot. And it's something that we've spoken about on camera before. Your age kind of precedes you. And I think that throughout your short space of working with Tyson has kind of been a bit of an easy target. Now, when Freddie Roach was added to the team, a lot of people kind of pointed to the fact of Tyson adding somebody with such experience. And they kind of said, I mean, I'm paraphrasing a lot and sort of like everybody said, but he needs Freddie Roach because Ben Davison can't do the job because he's a yes man and he's 25 and he's blah, 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 blah. Does that bother you?
It doesn't, no, because I don't let my emotions run too high. I don't let them run too low. Things like that would probably bother the normal 25-year-old, and they probably would bother most people. I'm just not like that. I'm very laid back. As a matter of fact, it was me that mentioned it to Tyson about Freddie being part of the team. We all went for something to eat, and I said to Tyson, what do you think about asking Freddie to be part of the team? And he said, I think it's a fantastic idea, and we asked Freddie. It's as simple as that, but people talk about my age and inexperience, but like I said, I think people associate age with experience, whereas that's not the case. It's not about the amount of experience, it's the quality of it. A journeyman with 200 fights doesn't beat a prospect with 10 fights, does he? It doesn't mean he's better because he's had 200 fights. Often, 90% of the time, the man with 10 fights, the good prospect who's got 10 winning fights, will win. Not always the case, but mostly. And also, do normal 25-year-olds turn a 27 and a half to 28 stone man into how Tyson looks physically today? No. Does a normal 25-year-old take emotional and mental Tyson Fury from last year to now? No. So clearly we're not talking about an average 25-year-old. So age shouldn't be a number. People shouldn't worry about that. Tyson's an intelligent guy, and you don't work with the type of fighters that I've worked with, not only Tyson, if you're not qualified.
That's also something that we've mentioned. Being from, I think it's fair to say, fighting stock, Tyson, I've been there. I was right behind you in Belfast when you worked the corner for the Pianetta fight. Some very vocal family members, I think it's fair to say, shouting instructions. How difficult is it for you to kind of keep a lid on that and to kind of to assert yourself? Because, I mean, I've seen some members of the Fury family that I wouldn't necessarily like to tell what's what. How do you handle that in as I say, I watched you and it was very calm but authoritative. How do you find that balance?
Well, what happened when that happened? What did I do? You was there, you were explaining it. What happened?
So they were shouting for Fury. Well, to be fair, there was various different points of the fight where it was Tyson do this, Tyson do that, and I won't mention specifics. But you didn't even really say anything from what I saw. It was kind of like a look and a hand and a blah blah blah, and then you've got these 25 stone men instantly sitting down and kind of shutting off. And I don't really think that people tend to see or have seen that side of you. I'm just wondering how you kind of do that and regain that kind of position of authority from such a relaxed place.
Because that's how I am. If you're not going to respect my decisions, if I'm a trainer and you're not going to respect my decisions, I'm wasting my time. What would be the point in being here? I'm not here for a free sandwich. Do you know what I mean? I'm here to do a job. All the rest of it, the bright lights and these sort of nights come and go. What really matters to me is getting the best out of my fighter. The rest of it doesn't bother me. I love the game, I love the sport, and I care for Tyson obviously as well. And everybody respects that I'm in charge, and they know that I have a keen eye for the sport. And I know what I'm talking about clearly, and I might not need to say maybe if they didn't feel somebody was qualified, if I made those gestures, they might have carried on. But they obviously know and trust my decisions, and let me get on with my job, which I appreciate, and it works well.
How's preparation for this fight been different to your Safiri fight, Pianetta fight? As you say, by all intents and purposes, 28 stone Tyson Fury would have beaten Sefer Seferi. Sorry, Sefer, if you're watching this, you probably beat me, so I probably shouldn't say that.
Well, he just had a draw with Firat Arslan. Yes, he did.
Ex-world champion, yeah.
So, fair play to him. Get up there, Sefa.
Kind of makes the performance look better on your end, doesn't it? But yeah, how has it been different for this? I mean, by your own admission, I mean, before camp, certainly you would have liked to have taken another fight or potentially another 2 fights. Did that kind of concentrate your efforts in camp this time to think like, okay, we're taking this fight now, this is very much different?
Well, I've always been very confident in Tyson's ability, and I always knew he could rise to the occasion as well. I know what he's had to go through in the last camps to get the weight off, which will affect performance when you have to get that amount of weight off. But he has shocked me, yeah. He has shocked me in every way. Mostly mentally, the way he's approached this mentally and the mental state he's got himself into. You know, he is elite level. I always knew he was elite level boxing, and I always knew he was elite level, but where he's at now, I didn't know as to quite what level, but I can even see now clearer why he's levels above everybody else, and he's just so mentally strong. He knows what he needs to do, and you know, obviously we've drummed the game plan into him to a point where he doesn't even need to think about it. You should be able to do it without thinking, because if you can't do that, then I haven't done my job. But he knows what he needs to do in every scenario, every situation, and that's the key really. And he's took it all on board very well. He's in a fantastic place, and I'm looking forward to it now.
Talk to me about Lawrence Okolie joining the camp. When I saw that pop up that Okolie was coming to join, I thought that's a really good idea. Yeah. Did it prove to be?
It was, yeah, it was, to be honest. And I've always rated Lawrence, and he got some stick for the last fight against Matty Askin. But I don't know Matty Askin, so I haven't got anything against him. But what I sort of took of it was Matty Askin wanted to try and rough Lawrence up. And I'd already been in touch with his team about bringing him over going into this fight. And but I wanted to see how he dealt with certain things. And I thought Matty Askin's going to try and rough him up. Not worry about boxing, but just try and get him off of his game plan and get him off of his tactics by roughhousing him, really. And I was very impressed that Lawrence, although scrappy because it was inexperienced, he didn't allow Matty to do that. He showed that you're not going to bully me, and I was very impressed with that. And then obviously Lawrence come over, and I'd planned for Lawrence to come over, and I appreciate your comments on it being a smart move. I'll take a bow on that one. But he come over, and we had a few sparring partners over as well, and it was really good work. Lawrence improved a hell of a lot over there, and he was working with a coach over there called Barry Robinson, very, very good coach as well, who helped Lawrence come on. And as the spars went on, I saw him picking up little bits off of Tyson. He'd try himself, and he was learning a lot. He's always asking questions and very keen to improve. And I was very, very impressed with his attitude. And he said to me, you know, I understand everybody has the same sort of thing. He said to me, before I come over here, I didn't see what the special thing was. He said, but when you get in there, it's just not what it looks like on the TV. And everybody says the same thing. And I said to him, look, before I started working with Tyson, I would have looked and thought the same thing. But it was really, really good work, a real professional, and I think he'll go on to big things, Lawrence.
What about Joe Joyce? Joe Joyce was also part of the camp. Did he work with you in the wild card as well, or was it just Big Bear?
He didn't. Obviously, he's got preparations. He's fighting on the card as well, so he was preparing for his own fight. But Joe's a beast. Joe's a consummate professional and an absolute gentleman as well. Pleasure to work with. Would have loved for him to be able to come down, but I completely understand he's got preparations for his own fight. It was really good work, especially at the beginning for the rounds for fitness, etc., etc. He's a non-stop. He's a beast, Joe. And Guido, like I said, people don't really know Guido yet, but yeah, very, very quick and very, very, really a real trier. Very game. He took a few shots and he kept trying to fire back, and it was really what we needed. Both of them very, very good fighters.
We've alluded to it in this interview. Having this camp where Tyson's weight is not kind of the primary focus, how does that impact on your role as a trainer? I mean, I'm assuming it makes things a lot easier and is a lot more enjoyable on your end.
It just means that I can do, when you've got to lose weight like that, and you've got to try and balance out the weight loss with performance, which is hard. And some days I might have to say, okay, I might have had a session plan. I might have thought, okay, he's on lower calories and he's exerting himself. He's in a calorie deficit. He's feeling tired today. So I might have to say, okay, let's swap that session for so-and-so. But he's been eating plenty of food. He's been feeling energised and he's got in plenty of good sessions. We've been able to... But I've also been able to bring him in, not have to worry about how many calories he's burning in the session, how his heart rate's looking in the session. I've been able to say, okay, all we're going to do is repeat this, have breaks in between, discuss, talk tactics, be more of a coach, which is what I'm better at. But we've got a good team. We've got strength and conditioning coach Christian Blacklock, who also worked with him for the Klitschko fight, and we've got on the nutritionist David Stash. And we've got a good team, and it has made a difference because, like I say, I've not had to worry about how many calories he's burning, what's his heart rate at, and etc. etc. Obviously, on some sessions I've had to, for sessions that I have that I want to tick off for his fitness. But when we're talking about technical sessions, I'm not having to do the technical session, but still need to get him over hit certain numbers. You know, I can just purely focus on the technical aspect.
What do you say to people who say Tyson Fury can't be the same fighter without Peter in the corner?
Well, Tyson was on the. Listen, Peter done a fantastic job with him. I'm not taking anything away from Peter. Peter done a fantastic job with him, and was what he needed at that time in his life. Obviously, Peter helped him get to the Klitschko win. But before that, Tyson was already in very highly well ranked with his other uncle Huey. Tyson's had a lot of different coaches and was still undefeated. Obviously, I think Peter had, from what I see, Peter had a good... was probably the first man to get respect off of Tyson, where he said, okay, I want you to do this, and he'd do it in terms of nutrition and diet and lifestyle, etc. And managed to get Tyson to go away for training camps, etc. But we'll find out on Saturday, won't we? I believe that you'll see the best Tyson Fury on Saturday night.
In a similar vein, what do you say to people who, given the fact that Tyson's been out of the ring or had been out of the ring for such a period of time, the kind of abuse that he'd put on his body through his various issues that he had, but also the mental abuse, what do you say to people who say that he can't be the same fighter that he was in the build-up to the Klitschko fight, or certainly the Klitschko win?
Well, if I thought that, I wouldn't be here. And in the gym, I've been seeing everything that I need to see for him to go into this, to give me and himself the best performance of his career. But then again, that's why everybody's interested, because everybody's thinking, okay, he might look good in the gym, etc., etc., but how's he going to perform on the night at this level? And that's part of the draw in this fight, that Tyson's coming in off a layoff. I'm very confident. He's got a fantastic engine, as anybody that's shared rounds with him will tell you. He feels good. He feels on fire, as he'll tell you. And like I say, for questions like that, it's all about tuning in on Saturday.
Do you think this is a more difficult fight than the Klitschko fight?
It depends in different ways. Wilder is taller, longer reach, harder puncher, we don't know. He's faster, and he'll take more chances, which could make him more dangerous. Klitschko had a lot better feet, and was a lot better defensively. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to find out. We don't know yet. Me personally, I think so, because I think that once bitten, twice shy. And I think that what Tyson's game plan led to at that point was he knew that if you pressured Klitschko with feints and certain shots, he would back up. He'd give the ground away before trying to take it back, because once bitten, twice shy. He'd been chinned before. Deontay hasn't. Now, that could be his strength or it could be his downfall, because he will take chances. He's took chances and been caught and made mistakes against fighters like Eric Molina, and Luis Ortiz. Now, it could lead to him making mistakes for Tyson to capitalise on. He will force things that won't be there, And today he said something in the press conference which interested me. He said if Klitschko had thrown the shots, he would have won. Now that says to me that they don't know boxing. Because if Klitschko could throw the shots, he would have thrown the shots, clearly and obviously. There was a reason he didn't throw the shots. He knew he would have overreached, would have missed and been countered. Now, if that is Wilder's true mindset, he will be made to pay for it, for sure. And people talking about it's either a Fury points or Wilder KO will be getting it definitely wrong. He can't take too many risks at this level, which I thought he would have learnt from. But as always, when you're studying opponents, I always take them up a few levels. I always imagine them to be better than they are. And but I didn't think he would make that mistake. So it'll be interesting to see on Saturday if he does make those mistakes. He'll be made to pay for them for sure, especially at this level.
I think it's been quite obvious to see that in certain fights that Wilder has had, he's been outboxed. I mean, the Luis Ortiz, his most recent fight, is probably a prime example of that. Do you think when you carry the kind of power that Wilder has certainly shown, do you think that can kind of paper over the cracks as a fighter?
Yeah, but it's not just the power. Fundamentally, he's not the best. He's not terrible, but he's not the best. But it's not just the power that makes up for it. It's all his physical aspects. His height, his reach, his speed and his power. Because he's so tall compared to usual opponents, he might be in a bad position but be able to lean out the way of the counter, which we saw a few times against Ortiz. He might be quick enough to step in on a mistake that the opponents make and capitalise on it, even if he's in a bad position. Or he might be able to, like, for example, no, I'm not going to say that, it's just giving something away. Okay. Basically, yes, it's his physical, all his physical assets and attributes that sort of cover the cracks, like you say, in his fundamentals.
What did you make of the Ortiz fight? Obviously, he got the win, stopped Ortiz, who I think it's fair to say nobody was really queuing up to fight Ortiz even now. Probably more so now he's had a loss. Were you impressed by that? Do you think that potentially he will become an even more dangerous fighter because he's passed that acid test at that point of his career?
Yeah, for sure. He'll have more self-belief, but sometimes it can be... Sometimes they can, like you say, he's passed that test and he might start to believe in himself a little bit too far, get a little bit too confident and take too many risks. Ortiz is a fantastic fighter. He blew out in that fight. That was the problem there. But I do know that he had blood pressure issues going into the fight. Charles Martin was there as a possible replacement for the fight. And it showed, you know. He hit Ortiz with some good clean shots that didn't wobble him. Obviously, he did get dropped earlier on in the fight, but at the actual stoppage, it was more so due to tiredness and fatigue. And Ortiz started to have success and got a little bit complacent. With Wilder, you can't get too greedy and you can't get complacent. I think Wilder he impressed me, but I know he says he was ill going into that fight, and I'd believe him. That performance from Wilder will not beat Tyson nowhere near it.
I think it's fair to say that the winner of this fight will be clamouring for a fight with Anthony Joshua next year. Is that the kind of the pathway that certainly you as a coach and Tyson as a fighter is looking at? Is it a case of beat Wilder, by all intents and purposes, could well be a rematch clause? Frank won't tell me. Is that kind of the path that you're looking to take? Is it very much we'll get Wilder out of the way and then we want Joshua next year, or is it just kind of one fight at a time?
One fight at a time. Obviously, we'd like that fight for the British public as well, and the world probably. The world want to see it, but especially the British public would love to see it, to have that fight in England, and it'd be a big show, etc. It'd be fantastic. I'm sure everybody wants to see it. And I'm sure the two fighters want to test themselves against each other, but they don't make or break each other's career. They've both had a lot of success. Obviously, there's been talk of the fight for a long, long time. And when Tyson gets his win on Saturday, it'll make the fight even bigger. But, you know, we're not desperate for it. When Tyson wins on Saturday, he'll be the main man in the division. He'll be the only man to have held all belts out there, as well as being the lineal champion, and we'll be dictating.
What's a harder fight? Wilder or Joshua?
Wilder by far. Not because Joshua's not as good as Wilder or anything like that. It's just styles. I believe that Joshua's style is tailor-made for Tyson. And styles make fights. It's as simple as that. Nothing more, nothing less. I think Joshua's a very good fighter and he's done very, very well for himself. And he should be proud of himself. And the team have done a fantastic job with him. And he's still improving. He's still learning. That was a fantastic win against Povetkin for him when it wasn't going his way early. He pulled it out the bag, and but I just think style-wise, like I say, it's tailor-made. He is tailor-made for Tyson. Doesn't mean he's not dangerous, and he's still a tough fight. Anybody that big, that strong, that can punch is dangerous. Just his fundamentals is ideal for Tyson, shall we say.
Moving away from Saturday, well, certainly moving away from Saturday's main event, as you mentioned, you've worked with some other fighters, Billy Joe Saunders being one of them. How much do you work with Billy Joe now? Obviously, he's in the midst of a ban. Do you still work with him? Do you still speak to him on a regular basis?
I do some technical sessions and that with him from time to time. Not recently. I've been in America, and he's been he was obviously in Boston, and now he's back at home. So I haven't worked with him for a little while, but earlier on in the year we were working together, and I worked with him for a number of years. And as well as that, he's a friend of mine as well. And sometimes he'll ring me up and say, "Oh, what do you think of this opponent? Can you break down that opponent for me? How do you think I should go about this? How do you think I should go about that?" And I'll always be there for him in that sense. And we always discuss. He's been ringing me up daily, asking how Tyson is, and he's been very confident with Tyson in this fight from day dot. And he's a class act, Billy Joe, and I think that was a shame what happened there. And it's just hard now because who now is going to take the risk to fight Billy Joe when they didn't want to take the risk when he had a world title?
That's something I agree with, and that's something I've spoken to Frank Warren about in interviews. Slippery southpaw with great hand and foot speed, who's failed who's in the midst of a doping ban, not going to be too high on many people's lists to fight. With that being said, I mean, Billy Joe doesn't need the money to fight. Do you see him returning to the ring?
Oh yeah, for sure. And even if he didn't, he'd do the same thing that Tyson done. He'd go for 2 years, blow up, and he'd for sure come back because it's all they know is boxing. Deep down they love it, and sometimes you need a little break. And I've actually done a similar thing with Billy Joe before that a lot of people don't know. Billy Joe blew up to 16.5 stone at one point. Yeah, 16.5 stone. He had to lose 5 stone to make weight for that fight. And so you can say I'm pretty experienced in this field.
What is it about you? You're saying that you've got Billy Joe Saunders, Olympian, established amateur, world champion, has won everything on the way up to being world champion, rings up 25-year-old Ben Davison to ask him to break down this opponent and that opponent. Lineal heavyweight champion Tyson Fury puts all of his faith in 25-year-old Ben Davison. I'm using it because it's the term that seemingly follows you around. It's kind of your nickname, 25-year-old Ben Davison. What's that like?
Do you know what? It doesn't... I've been having that with Billy Joe since I was probably 18. Working on little things with him and going through things and technical sessions, etc., etc. But I describe it like this. You get talented fighters. There's lots of talented fighters. And then you get fighters like Tyson and Billy Joe, who's God-gifted. And I just feel like I have that gift outside the ropes. I don't know. I couldn't explain it to you, but sometimes I can just stand out the ropes and go, that'll work and it'll work. Or I can just see things that I can't go, oh, I'm seeing it because of this, he's not seeing it because of that. I just have a knack for it. I can't tell you why. And I'm very, very good at being able to judge what a fighter's got left in his tank. Breaking fights down, game plans and technical little adjustments. That's sort of my key. But I think I've been labelled with the sort of conditioning sort of type of trainer. That's not really my best asset. Obviously I can do that. I've been experienced with it, working with two fat bastards like Tyson and Billy Joe. So that's just sort of come along with working with them. But listen, it's a pleasure to work with them sort of people. I'm lucky to have been able to work with them sort of people. But like you say, obviously, to work with those sorts of people, you have to have something about you. So,
God-gifted Ben Davison. That's going to be your new nickname. That's going to be in the title. Just finally, something that I spoke to Freddie Roach about, as we alluded to earlier, kind of worked under Eddie Futch, and he was like the new kid on the block at one stage. He was very complimentary about kind of your eye and the fact that you do see things and you obviously have a clear understanding of the sport. Do you see yourself doing this 20, 30, 40 years into the future? Is this going to be you now for the foreseeable?
yeah, probably. Probably. After this, I'm going to have a good little break, though, that's for sure. It's been a hard 12 months, but obviously when Billy Joe was working with Jimmy Tibbs, I learnt a lot with Jimmy, a hell of a lot, which, you know, I'm lucky because that's probably where I gained a lot of quality experience, spending time around Jimmy, who's been in the game for a long time, and I learnt a lot from Jimmy on how to work a fighter, to take things day by day, when to push him, when to pull him, when to ease off, when to push on, and how to peak a fighter. I learnt a lot of Jimmy in that respect, and obviously certain different things I've sort of gone on my own and took my own way on things, but like I say, spending a lot of time around Jimmy and that, you gain lots of quality experience, and the same with Freddie. You're going to pick up lots of things off of them. And Freddie might have picked something up off of me, as you do, bouncing ideas off of each other. Sometimes you can learn things off of people that you least expect it. And I'm like a sponge, so I'm always trying to soak things up and take things in. And that's how you learn, that's how you improve. When you think you know it all, you're not going to keep learning, are you? And improve.
Good place to leave it, I think. The God-gifted Ben Davison. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Can't help but be always very impressed every time we do this. Best of luck for the rest of Fight Week. I'm sure you'll continue to enjoy it. We're going to go now because Isaac Lowe's on the phone. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thank you.